Hi, Whitney. I'm Rebekah Daly.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm so glad you came in. Tell me about what brings you in today, Whitney.
Well, I've been having a hard time lately. My parents, who've been married for like 35 years, just recently told me that they're getting a divorce.
I'm so sorry.
And I'm having a really hard time with it. And I think maybe I've been feeling depressed, but I'm not sure.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What makes you think that you're depressed?
I've been tired a lot lately, and I had to call in sick to work a couple times last week, just because I couldn't handle being around people. And I've just been feeling like extra exhausted and overwhelmed lately.
Okay. Now, how long ago was it you said you have a brother? Is he older or younger?
He's younger. He's not super close in age. There's a little bit of a gap, but he's a younger brother.
Okay. And did they tell both of you together or separately?
They told us separately.
Okay. And do you remember how long ago it was?
I've been kind of lost track of time, but I think it was two or 3 weeks ago.
So very recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you called in sick to work. Where do you work?
I work at a bank, U.S. bank, just over by the post office.
Oh, the one in downtown.
Downtown, yeah.
Okay, I do know that one well, and exactly where that is.
Yeah.
How long have you worked there?
Just under 2 years or so still pretty recent.
Okay, and how do you like working at the bank?
It's good. I mean, it's not a bad place to work.
Sure.
It's definitely not my dream job.
Yeah, you said you've been there 2 years. What's the long-term goal? What's the dream job, would you say?
I don't know. I mean, I enjoy being around younger people who are trying to figure out where they're going in the next phase of their life. So like that late teen, early 20s time period. So I don't know, maybe a coach or a mentor or something.
You must have a very special skill set to want to work with teen. There's a lot of people that wouldn't choose to work with teenagers. So if you do, that's really a great and unique gifting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned missing work. How else do you feel like your depression has been affecting you?
Well, I'm usually pretty active and I'm pretty involved with people. And I haven't been haven't had the desire. My heart hasn't been in it to do the normal things I do, even though my friends have reached out to me and they've said they want me there. Normally we play basketball, a group of us, like once a week, every Friday. And I don't have the energy. I don't have the desire. And that's really unusual for me.
Okay. Now I'm wondering, Whitney, I actually have an intake form that I fill out with every individual with whom I meet. And I'm wondering if you would mind if we went through that. How does that sound? We can get a basic idea of your background, your biography, so to speak, and then very easy, straightforward questions. And then we can kind of round out if I have questions or there's gaps we need to fill in, we can do that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me grab that pen now. Okay, do that. Okay, we'll start out with the easy questions. What's your address, Whitney?
That's pretty easy. 963 Coleman Street.
Okay, is that close to downtown?
Yeah, it's pretty close. You can walk.
I was gonna say that's probably close enough you can walk over there. And how old are you?
33.
Okay. Gender?
Female.
Okay. Marital status?
Single.
Perfect. And what is your ethnicity?
White or Caucasian, I guess.
Okay. And your current living situation? Do you live alone, with family, with roommates?
I live with a roommate and we rent a small duplex.
Oh, okay. And how did you meet your roommate?
Through church, actually. My roommate it was her first time moving out of her family's house. So I got to be a little bit of a mentor.
Oh, something you're well suited for, it sounds like. And how's your relationship with her?
It's good. It's pretty good. We've had, typical roommate bumps along the way,
Sure.
conversations that have to be had, but it's pretty easy living with her.
Okay. And do you hang out at all, or is the nature of your relationship more that you share the space, split the rent?
We hang out occasionally,
Mhm.
but more often than not, our schedules are so different that
Mm.
we're just kind of splitting the rent and passing in.
Sure. Okay. And okay, you shared with me a little bit about feeling like you might be depressed because of your parents' divorce. Are there any other factors that contributed to your coming in today?
I think that's the main thing, but I mean, I have thought it is harder because I am single, and just it got me thinking about if I were married and just doing my own thing with my husband, then maybe I wouldn't. It would make me less bothered about my parents, and I mean, I'd have a partner to kind of process through with me all of these things. And there's also the piece of, as we get older, we get into our careers, we're more focused. We don't have as much of a social network. Usually either when something is hard, you rely on your husband, your family, or you rescind back to your family, your parents, and that's falling apart.
I see. So you feel like if you were married, you would have kind of a built-in stable support system that would make you less preoccupied with what your parents have going on because you'd be busy or worried about your own life.
I think so.
And are you dating anyone currently?
No.
Okay.
Not currently.
Tell me about your relationship history.
With men?
Yeah.
Well, in this world of online dating, I had a stint with online dating, and like everything else, there was just misfires. Just nobody has felt right. And the other ones that I've met through my social circles, people who are kind of on the same page of values and beliefs. And those were very short-lived. And I mean, either guys have liked me, but I felt like they were too clingy, or I've liked them, but they've not given me the time of day. So there's just kind of been a misfire. I've had like 1 or 2 longer term relationships. I think the longest one that I've had has been about 2 months.
Okay. And have you had any history with depression in the past?
No.
None. And how about, have you ever been to see a counselor previously?
Not officially. I mean, there's just been people in my own life who have walked me through, the minor, struggles that you have in life, just with workplace and direction and things like that.
Friends you go to for advice, but not a professional.
Right.
counselor. Sure.
Right.
Well, I think it shows a lot of self-awareness that if you can recognize, hey, emotionally, I feel like I'm in over my head. I don't know how to navigate this. I think it takes an incredible amount of courage to A, be able to recognize that, and B, to take action on it. So I just applaud you for taking a practical step towards your own health and well-being, because that's what this is. This is you making a step in the direction of health. So I think that's great.
Thank you.
Now, have you either now in the past, now or in the past, ever dealt with suicidal thoughts?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. And have you ever wanted to hurt someone else?
Outside of slapping them across the face for doing something stupid? No, I don't think so.
Fair enough. Okay, tell me about your relationship or history with drugs and or alcohol.
I've never done drugs. I've
Okay.
never been tempted. And I drink socially on occasion, but not much. I mean, occasionally I'll get a bottle of wine for myself, but I'm pretty cheap. I don't like to spend money on anything, but rather keep it on hand. So just more socially, and it's pretty chill.
Going out with friends.
Yeah.
And how often would you say that is?
Maybe once or twice a month.
Okay. And any history of trauma?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And do you have a faith background or a religious preference?
Yeah, Christian.
Christian. Okay.
Mhm.
Do you have a church that you attend with?
I do. I go to the Calvary Chapel in town.
Is that over in that industrial? I've
Mhm.
passed that one. Okay. I do know
Yeah.
where that is. Great.
Yeah.
How long have you gone there?
Well, going on 8 years now or so.
Okay.
And so I mean, I'm there fellowshipping with people on Sundays and then midweek service, and then I'm involved with the young adult group, and so we'll do hikes and game nights occasionally, and so I'm pretty involved.
Sounds like it,
Yeah,
which is great.
yeah.
What a good community.
I love my church.
That's great. Okay, and you also mentioned playing basketball, so I know that you're probably pretty athletic. What
Mhm.
else do you like to do that's life-giving for you?
Well, I really enjoy running. I'm very
Mm.
like when I'm in my head or I've got emotional things swirling around, I like to work it out physically. So I'll run or I'll do yoga a lot actually. And I enjoy making music with people. And I enjoy being out in nature, hiking, obviously, and exploring. And then I've dabbled in some creative projects. I wouldn't say I'm an artist, but here and there I've done some like furniture renovations, and
Wow.
I've done some small painting projects for people for milestones in their life. So
Neat. Is that something that you do on the side for money, or something you do purely for pleasure, just because you enjoy?
it's just for fun,
Okay.
just for fun.
Those are all really great outlets.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your parents telling you and your brother separately, and how long ago did you say that was? If you said it.
I said it was, I've lost track of time. I think it's been like 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3
ago.
weeks. That's right. Okay. And how far away do your parents live? Are they in the area? Are they local?
No, actually, they're out in Tennessee.
Wow, Tennessee. Is that where you were raised?
I was raised out in that area, yes.
Wow, how did you end up in Northern California?
So obviously everybody wants to go to California who's from the East. And so I loved Tahoe, and I ended up going to UC Davis, and that's the closest place that I was able to, to find a spot to go to college, and it's pretty close to Tahoe. So that's how I came out here. And my brother, he came out, his story is different, but he's local as well. I don't see him super regularly, but it's not the biannually visits that we have with the rest of the family, holidays and whatnot.
And is your brother married, single?
He's single. He's younger than I am, but he's still single.
Okay. Awesome. And so you see him occasionally, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Not super close.
Right.
Okay. And since your parents told you both, is that something that you've discussed with your brother? Have you talked about it with him?
Not so much yet. My brother, he can kind of keep to himself when he's wrestling through things, but then eventually we'll talk through. But I know I need to talk through things with people.
It's helpful for you to process.
It is.
Okay. Well, man, that is amazing that you have managed to forge your whole life coming from Tennessee all the way out to California, and then doing college, getting a college degree. What was your degree in?
It was in anthropology and communications.
Wow, interesting. And when you were doing that, because you're telling me, so you work at a bank, so you study people all day long. And but what was your thought doing anthropology and communications? Did you know at that time you wanted to do something in sort of the mentorship realm, or when you chose that major, what was appealing to you?
Honestly, I didn't think too much ahead of time about it. It was just, I started looking at the course listings, and they were very culturally based, and I have always wanted to travel. I mean, I said I was really into exploring, and so it appealed to me, all the courses that were listed. And the school made it sound like it was easy to get a job in anthropology, and that you could go in a variety of different directions. So I took their word for it and completed the degree.
Neat. Well, wow, that is amazing. I see a lot of strengths and giftings in you from what you've shared. You're obviously very proactive and active. You mentioned that you're typically the type of person who likes to seek out resources right away. You're also very physically active, You're involved in your community, which is huge. You have a lot of healthy creative outlets that you pursue. And I would be cautious of not saying that you're an artist, because it sounds like if you're remodeling furniture or what's the word for it? If you're
renovating,
sure. Yeah. Refurbishing is probably the word I'm looking for. But if you're able to do that and you're pursuing these other creative pursuits, I mean, there are a lot of really, really excellent things about you.
Thank
And,
you.
you know what, I just want to affirm you that what you're going through is really difficult, but all the things you're expressing to me are very normal for someone who's just found out something very traumatic. And there's probably going to be repercussions and different things that you'll experience throughout. But our goal here is to provide services and to connect you with resources, even in our own area, to enable you to walk through this and to come out on the other side stronger. You know, people use the analogy of a bone breaking, right, can sometimes be better than a sprain, in the sense that when those bones reset, they heal stronger. And that's our goal, is that you come out of our time together more connected with your community, more in touch with who you are, and better equipped to live the life that you want to live. But that's, I guess, my next question for you would be, what would be one of your goals coming out of this? What are you hoping looks differently on the other side of our time?
I want to, in a nutshell, I want to feel better. I want to feel less tired. I want to have the energy that I had, and I don't want to be working at the bank or be in social circles and have someone mention something that makes me want to cry, and where I'm not able to function at full capacity. I just don't want to feel like a shell of myself for too long.
Sure, that makes total sense. But paint me a picture of what it would look like practically. Obviously not feeling tired, having more energy. What are some other ways that would look for you living normal life, quote unquote? What activities could you see yourself being helped through, or I guess what a picture of that looks like?
Yeah, well, since I don't have the energy, I'm not doing the things that I normally would do, like the basketball, and I don't feel like I have the capacity to mentor because I have so many questions myself. And so I would just like to be back on some stable footing of what's true. And I know what's true ultimately, but I mean, my parents gave no indication to us over the years that there was anything wrong. And so we had a really strong upbringing, and my parents have always been great counselors. They've been leaders to us, and all of a sudden they're getting divorced, which is against everything, against some big things that they've taught us. And so it makes me just start to wonder, you know, what else is not real in what I've been taught. And I mean, I'm over 30 years old. You'd think I wouldn't be struggling with this. I should be able to think through it. But just when that baseline is crushed, it's difficult to have the confidence that I know what I'm talking about when what I thought I knew what I was talking about isn't true anymore. And I'd like to be able to sleep at night again.
You're losing sleep.
And you roll through, you know, was there anything I could have done that I could have caught, that I could have mentioned, that I could have challenged my parents on? I mean, there was no clear indicators, although now that I've thought through it a lot, I thought maybe the only real thing is, since I've been an adult, we haven't been there as much. And so I know in the more recent years, we've heard more of mom and dad going on like girlfriend trips or guy trips to get like separately with just the guys or just the girls. And I mean, if I were to try to pinpoint anything, that's the only thing I can see as an indicator, because otherwise at holidays and from when we were kids, the memories have always been pleasant and strong and solid. And then thinking forward, if my parents stay divorced and they get remarried, and what if they marry people who don't share the same values 100%, and we always had such a tight family? Will we not be as tight anymore? Will we have to walk on eggshells? Will we have to hold our tongue? Will we have to not celebrate the same way because not everyone celebrates the same things anymore? And so having some way to answer those things. And if I'm going to be mentoring people who are going through something similar and I'm still shattered, how can I be a good guide?
So this came as a complete shock to you. You didn't see this coming at all, based on what your childhood experiences were, your assessment of your parents' relationship. What reasons did they give you when they talked to you about it? Did they explain this is why, or was it just, I mean, how did they phrase it to you?
They did say that they had just been growing apart, and they've always been really good about protecting us, like they've never fought in front of us. They've never. And so I guess another thing that I would like is a bit more transparency and an ability to talk through the things that are not beautiful, and not be totally ashamed of it, or just be willing to put it on the table. And I don't think that they're good at that. So I don't know if there was any. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, usually looking at other people's stories, that there might be an affair that happened that broke the trust, but they haven't talked about it. But they didn't indicate anything like that to me. So as far as I know, they just said they've started to grow apart, and they're going in different directions.
Which is kind of a double blow, in the sense that it's not like your whole life you're thinking, oh, they should just go ahead and get divorced. They fight so much.
Yeah.
You had an idea of a very stable and secure parental marriage relationship.
Right.
And that was your foundation for your whole life. That was the one stable constant. When you're moving cross country and you're doing school, you still got mom and dad together back at home.
Right.
So that's I can imagine that's a very big shakeup to your normal life, and to your understanding of who you are, and how you view the world. But I also want to say, I heard you say, I should know by now, I'm 33, but I want to ask you this. How many times in your life have your parents divorced? Never. So you're walking through something that's completely unfamiliar to you. And like anybody, when you're fumbling through something new, there's going to be fumbles. There's going to be areas where you're applying problem-solving tools from the past, but there's also things that you haven't learned how to navigate because you've never had to navigate them before. So as an encouragement to you, I want you to give yourself grace that as you're processing, what you're feeling is normal, and it's okay to feel what you feel. That's healthy, right? You're probably going to feel a lot of mixed emotions, and maybe even out of order. You might feel anger, you might feel resentment towards your parents, you might feel sadness and grief all simultaneously, right? It all might be in the mix. But I think it's healthy for you to allow yourself to feel as a way of processing that grief, and not should yourself. I shouldn't feel this way. I should feel this way. No one knows how they should feel in any situation until they've been in it. And so just as an encouragement to you, to give yourself grace for that. So there's a lot there. And I also see that you're someone who's concerned about the future, because you have thoughts about what you want to do for yourself in terms of your career. You have goals, you have aspirations, but you also have concerns about, saving your money. What's going to happen if my parents remarry? It seems like there's a lot of forward focus, which I recognize in you, and that can be really good, but we have to temper that so that we don't get so ahead of ourselves that we stop living in what's right in front of us. So let's talk about some, in terms of goals, what I'd like to do. I want to call around off the top of my head. I can think even within El Dorado County of several resources that I think might be applicable to your situation that would be helpful. But I want to work with you and find out what you're open to, what would excite you, what things you feel like would be beneficial, and not forge ahead where I write you a plan and here's your instructions, go. I'm partnering with you, and what I want to do is help empower you to make decisions that you feel like are going to be ultimately beneficial for your situation.
Okay.
And I see a lot of really encouraging things that I've already mentioned to you, but just ways that I see you as having a lot of wherewithal and a lot of just you're social, you're very involved, you have healthy support systems and community. Your faith is obviously an important part of your life, and that factors in. That can be really beneficial. And I think it obviously, like any problem, it's going to take some ingenuity and some hard work. But I see that you're not afraid of that. You're willing to put in that time, and you're even willing to take the step to say, I don't know if I can mentor people right now because I need to get to a place where I feel secure. That takes a certain self-awareness and presence of mind to come to that place too. So I think that's it's a good indicator to me that, okay, she's ready to do the work. So what I'd like to do, if I can call around and make some of those inquiries into some of those resources, and then if we can meet up maybe in about a week and I can lay out some of the options that I have and we can talk through those and you can tell me what appeals to you or what sounds good, what doesn't sound good. How does that plan sound to you?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about a week from now.
Yeah.
Did you have any other questions for me?
Well, honestly, do you think I'm depressed?
I mean, some of the symptoms that you're giving me certainly fall within the realm of depression, but I'm not able to diagnose you necessarily. We would have to schedule an appointment with a psychiatrist in order to make that determination. But I am curious it sounds like there's a lot behind that question for you. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, nothing. I feel like if I don't want to be depressed,
Sure.
obviously.
Sure.
But I just think it would help me if I had a diagnosis that was official. I mean, once you know what something is, you can deal with it. And it's just been such a heavier weight of tiredness and overwhelm than I've ever felt before. And so, yeah, I just think a diagnosis would either yes, it is, or rule it out. And then that would be helpful to move forward.
It would help give you some clarity about what you're dealing with so you know how to tackle it better. Okay. Now, if it turns out that according to the assessment of a psychiatrist, if they determine that they think you are depressed, tell me about your feelings on the possibility of medication. Is that something that you're open to, or when I say medication, tell me about how you feel?
My insides just rescind.
Okay, tell me about that.
I don't know. I would prefer medication as a last resort.
Okay.
But I mean, if it's determined that it would be the best help, then maybe.
Okay. So you're open, but you're a little bit hesitant, which is understandable. And I think you're the one that's steering the ship here. So I'm going to give you resources and I'm going to tell you, we can go this way, this way, this way, or this way. And you get to decide which way you turn the wheel. So if medication is something that you're excited about, or that you think, great, if it'll help, let's do it, then that's the way we go. If you decide, I'm not super comfortable, there's no requirements here. Okay. We're not going to mandate anything outside of what you think would be helpful to you.
Okay.
So does that help allay your concerns a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay. Good. And even what you've expressed about medication, I think there's a lot of people, even people who are quick to take medications for headaches or sore throat or whatever their ailment, when it comes to psychotropic drugs, a lot of people are, whoa, slow down. Yeah. So I think that's normal. And of course, if you had concerns about that, we can talk through all of that, and you can certainly discuss that with the psychiatrist when they're making their assessment.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say today is Okay. How about a week from today?
Yeah.
Week from today. Is this time good for you? Does this work with your work schedule? And
Yeah, I think so. Pretty
okay,
much always today.
Okay.
On Wednesdays.
great. Okay. Well, Whitney, thank you so much for coming in, and I'll look forward to meeting with you next week.
Yeah, thanks. Same.
Okay.